On the Daily Nation, you can find it on page 12. On the Standard newspaper, it's on page 6. The list of 133 unapproved degree courses. That is something that has also sparked debate. About 10,000 students could end up with courses or the degrees that are deemed useless.
And I want us to begin with that story. The Member of Parliament for Muranga County, Sabina, currently chairperson of the Health Committee, but you're formerly the chairperson of Education Committee.
Yes.
And we see a list on page 12 of the Daily Nation of the various courses at different universities. Looking at that list, you have a feeling that it's majorly the new universities that were not there because initially there were 6 public universities. So you see a list on Bomet University College, for instance. There's a Bachelor of Science in Computer Science. The capacity is 30 students. It's not approved. There are courses at Cooperative University of Kenya, Dedan Kimathi, Garissa University, Jaramogi Oginga Odinga University. And there has been a notice from the Commission on for University Education to regularize these courses. It hasn't happened. Where do we go from here?
I think one of the things that we have seen is that we have had very many universities mushrooming, and many of them, by the time they start, they have no idea what they want to teach, and so they come up with these courses. I was formerly the chair for education, now I chair health. But basically, initially, when we were in the university, we had very specific university teaching specific courses.
Right.
And so the government was spending money, even investing at the right universities. So what has happened now is that we have every county wanting to have a university, and most of them in one county, they even have the campuses. And so due to competition, people are trying to woo the students and find out what would they want to learn. But do they have even enough personnel to teach? And that's why we have the moonlighters, lecturers who will dash from one university to the other. We have cases of students who have completed their courses, but they don't have the results because either they disappeared or the lecturer was not there. And the big question, as we see courses not approved, is we want to ask our university students learning.
Right.
And do they even have enough lecturers to teach them? So I think we need to go back to where we knew if it was Nairobi University, it was known as the university where you can study medicine. Now it's unfortunate that almost every other university is teaching medicine. And we also had like Kenyatta University known for education. JKUAT was known for agriculture. So when you find JKUAT now, yes, going now to teach medicine and other courses, then of course you start asking ourselves, do we even have, as I said, enough personnel to teach? And so this is just showing us the thirst for money in our universities, unnecessary competition that has come up. They are trying to, and that's why we have every year many graduates. And Gladys will tell you, I am an employer. A lot of those many graduates who even come to your offices, you want to employ them, they have nothing.
Right.
One cannot write an official, and the graduate, an official letter.
Application letter.
Not even application. Just give them a small assignment to write a letter in an office. You know, sometimes you need to write a letter and you assign somebody to do an official letter.
Right.
Things that we learned in class 7, class 6.
So what is the problem? Is it the system? Is it the students? Is it our teachers? Because by the time you're finishing university and you can't write a simple memo or your CV cover letter, and you've already gone through the years or what society expects from you academy-wise, what's the problem?
That's what I asked, are we having a university student just passing through the university, or what are they learning in our university? And the question is, how many even professors do we have today? And so with the numbers of universities, you can see that these are just the new ones.
Right.
You see Bomet, we have Catholic, we have Cooperative, Dedan Kimathi, Garissa, Jaramogi, all these universities. I think first thing from the Ministry of Education, what they need to do, before you approve any institution to be formed or even any university, they should ask them what gaps are we facing in Kenya.
Right.
And so let them come in and address the gaps that we have.
Right.
But even for the government, it's very expensive. I was a chair and we actually fund all these many universities. We are funding the infrastructure. Of course, then there was still the issue of even the lecturers asking for a higher pay. But the big question is, how many lecturers do we have in Kenya? With the number of universities and with the number of many courses that we have here. And some of these courses are also new courses. Look at this, there's a Bachelor of, I've seen something very interesting here on...
Which university?
cooperative university, science in hotel and restaurant management. You know, even there's some of these titles. Yeah, so Bachelor of Science in hotel and restaurant management.
Right.
I just think this is just housekeeping and everything else that has been decorated with a better name. But anyway, I don't want to judge. But the thing is, before even these courses are advertised, because what happens, a lot of these universities, they go to the media, to the newspapers, they also go to the radio stations and advertised. And this one shows you a bigger problem we have even with our colleges.
Right.
Because we have them advertising, but what courses really, we need to have somebody vetting and monitoring our student learning in the university.
Let me rope in Gladys Wanga. And Sabina Chege brings in a very good aspect that she has echoed from the very first go, infrastructure. Do we have teachers? Do we have whatever it takes to make sure that the numbers of students that are coming in university, because there are quite a number that we're churning in, are able to be sustained. But here's the question. Have universities in Kenya become a money-making mechanism, given that maybe financing, the funding that they get is not enough? Because all these universities, some of them new, and even as Sabina Chege has said, you'll read one of the names and just the naming itself brings up questions. So the issue of funding, the fact that our higher learning institutions, our universities, our colleges are not funded well enough, it forces our universities to be more of money-making institutions, hence the fake courses that we're seeing that have been called out.
Yeah, well, I think, Zinti, you read my mind. The problem with the universities began when they started to compete as to which university is making the most amount of money. When we were, initially universities were about learning. Government would fund students. You know, remember the days of boom? You know, you go to the university and you're good. You know, everything will be paid for, paid up and so on. Then we started to move into universities thinking, we must make some money as well to be able to stay afloat. Okay, then they started, now we have parallel courses and parallel programs. So that Kenyatta University, which was known, for example, for being the premier place to go if you want to study teaching and so on, now started to expand and have, what have you, and then we had JKUAT and other universities, and then universities began to mushroom, and then counties came in, and every county felt like we must have a university of our own, or 2 or 3, and for you to have that university, apart from the government capitation, which is shrinking, to be honest, because our past keeps on shrinking, there's need to make money. But what I must say is the saddest thing about this clash between vice chancellors and CUE and all is the sufferer is the student. Let me tell you, even to just go and study the course that Sabina said about hotel, and we must look at that. For example, why are you studying a bachelor's degree in hotel management? Shouldn't that be a diploma or a
it's more technical.
Shouldn't it be a technical course where you go and learn how to set the table? And so why is that a degree? Why is that something you study for 4 years?
Right.
Why are you, why shouldn't that just be technical so that you learn and come out of there when you know exactly what it is to manage a hotel and, and so on and so forth. And a restaurant and so on. So why have we converted everything into you must have a degree to do this?
All right.
And then we lack technical people. At the end of the day, if you want to look for a plumber now, a proper plumber who will sort out your plumbing fee, it is a problem. You will find an old mzee from Kitambo is the one who knows how to do it properly because there is that gap. So the sufferer here is the student. Parents have sold cows. I'm telling you for sure. At least I know, because Tomboya University College is also here. That is in Homa Bay County. People sell everything they have because their child must go to the university to learn a useless course, which will take them nowhere. This child will finish school, come back to the house. That same parent who sold everything they had has to feed that child and their wife. Because there is no
they have
job.
Nothing to do. Yeah. All right. And we are talking about the situation that is on the 2 dailies today, talking about 10,000 students who could end up with bogus degrees as courses not approved by the CUE. And I was looking at some of the statistics because I got into the point of talking about the academic staff that we have at the universities, which Sabina had spoken a little about it. And as of 2016, we had about 16,000 academic staff in the universities. Of those, 8,600 had master's degrees, and 656 had diploma papers, and the professors about 300 or so. Not so many to serve the populace that we have in the country. Then there's an average of one professor serving about 98 students. So we're getting to the point of looking at the situation that we have in the country, and now we're told that 10,000 students risk having bogus degrees. What options do they have? Because there are those that have already finished school, there are those that are still going on with the program. What options do they have to regularize their degrees and really have a livelihood after school?
I think the options are still there. When I see these stories, I feel sad myself, because one of the best things we have in this country is the education system. It has competed internationally. It continues to compete internationally. And so there are a couple of things we've done right as far as education is concerned. I think the gap has been to modernize with time. That if some degrees are running obsolete or are no longer as useful to the economy, then the universities need to move with times and to bring more courses that are relevant. So I'm hoping that the universities are going to have options for these 10,000, probably other certificate courses, bridging, you know, whatever else they need to do to move over to more more economic friendly courses. But I want to caution here that economic friendly courses does not mean courses with money. So that is another big problem that we have. The fact that you don't have a job and you have a degree does not mean that that degree is obsolete. That's a different problem with the economy, and I think we need to fix that. A first degree for a long time was basically a managerial degree. It was fairly general enough for you to fit in the economy. Right. So I don't think that not having money in a particular course is a reason enough for us to say that that course has had its own time. But I'm hoping that the professors, as few as they are, put our education system back on course. It would be very sad if we lose education. That's one of the things we are using to compete internationally.
Do you think that it's time for us to relook, or rather re-evaluate our system and the purpose for higher learning education here in Kenya? I say this because perhaps we need to ask ourselves, why do we go to school, especially in this day and age? Of course, why we went to school 50 years is not the same reason why we go to school today. If you look at Singapore, especially on the Ministry of Education, their website, before they even tell you or talk about grades, they say that for us as a Singaporean, we want to make sure our students are able to understand, they're able to articulate themselves, they're able to be proud to be a Singaporean. This is even before you come to master's education. So do we need to start relooking? Do we need to ask ourselves, why are we going to school? Why are we taking our children to school? Why do we need to go to university after high school? And it's something that also Gladys Wanga talked about, the certain courses. I don't need to go to university for 4 years, and it's a simple training course that I can take about 6 months.
Yeah, I think you're right on that one. We need to evaluate our reasons for schooling, and especially debunk the myth that you go to school to get a job. You go to school to get knowledge, and that knowledge should be able to help you. If you get a job, thank you very much. But even if you don't get a job, you should be able to use that knowledge in this economy. And I think that that's where our professors need to go. We can no longer train people for white collar. We now need to train people for the economy, for patriotism, for Kenya developing, and for our counties as well. Remember, counties are struggling with lack of personnel, while Nairobi here is dying with unemployment. That also shouldn't happen.
Before we go to our next topic, Sabina Chega, I really have to ask you this question. How easy is it to open a university here in Kenya? Take Kenyans through that process, because do you wake up tomorrow and can I decide that I also want to open my own university?
No, you must go through a process. Of course, there was the acreage of land and of course the building and infrastructure. This came in after we found some universities were actually on top of a building, and below that building there was a bar and colleges. That was there before. And so some standards were set on the kind of a building, the kind of space that one needs. And of course then you need to give your courses that you are supposed to offer so that they are approved. And I think what happened with a majority of these universities, when they were given a go-ahead, they had not submitted. I've seen a lot of courses were not submitted for approval. And so they went ahead to teach the courses, hoping then within the process they will be approved or accredited. And so a majority of these have been rejected when already the students have started learning. And I think the big question we need to ask, and especially on the complicated courses that we have, some of these things may require machinery, it may require some of the equipment to be bought. And the question is, are we only teaching our students theoretically and they cannot do it practically?
Right.
And so that is the kind of investment, and I think the accrediting body should go ahead and not allow any university to open before they are sure that they have gone through the courses that they have approved, and number two, they have the facilities that are required. The problem we're seeing in our university starts all the way before. Yesterday I was watching one of the mass choirs that when we were young as small children, we used to go and sing to Baba Moi. And you know, I watched the mass choir for various primary schools, and I was just thinking, this must be very old women now and men. But there was a boy leading, and of course the song was praising Moi as kawaida, but the thing is, there was also a lot of information being passed and patriotism in that song. I actually admired it and loved it, and I said, where did we lose it? We used to be very patriotic, the songs that we sang. And then we used to sing this song of so many vijana, muongeze pia bidii, baada ya kusoma mtapata kazi nzuri sana. So then it was about people going to the university. The universities were few, that's why the government would be able to fully fund and even give boom to motivate the students who are there. And then after that, then the government would pick immediately and attach their students in government offices. Right now, we have too many universities, even from the onset, from our primary school level. And one of the things that the ministry need to be very keen about, and I don't know whether that's what happened in Homa Bay and in Nyeri, is that we have concentrated on our primary school. We are giving free primary school education, but nobody is asking the government a hard question: what is happening with our lower, you know, the nursery schools in the village setup? The nursery schools are either owned by the churches or by, you know, the community. Most of them are not attached to that primary school. And even with the new curriculum that has come with the PP1, PP2, basically the government needs now to take care of ECD. Remember, even in our constitution, we decided to devolve ECD. So if you devolve it, if a child in Homa Bay will not get the same kind of education as a child in Muranga, then how do you then come and merge them in Study 1? So for the parents who are not able to afford, because ECDs are not free.
Expensive.
And number two, the teachers of ECD are also not taken care by TSC. And we have a bill in Parliament trying to address that. But if they're not taken care by the TSC, that means then the parents must shoulder the burden, because sometimes the counties, they choose whether to hire or not, whether to pay 5,000 or 10,000 or 15.
And
by the way, the ECD teachers must be, they're the ones who are supposed to be paid more than even the lecturers, because they deal with the young minds. And if you mess up with education at that young level, then you're not able to pick up. So I think we need to have a way of sitting back and looking at the total, you know, the overhaul of our education system from that early age.
I wanted to just add something. On that topic. Yeah, I just wanted to add something on that matter. When Honorable Sabina earlier on raised the issue of whether graduates are actually able to draft letters, and they're not, you know, many of them, I mean some do, but many of them are unable to, you know, draft a simple letter, or, you know, far less maybe do research and give you, you know, notes and so on. But that is not just a factor of universities, it's a factor of what is from early education. When do you learn your English? When do you learn your basic, you know, when do you learn not to break your tenses and so on? It's class 1, 2, 3, from early childhood. So we have to look at that system all the way from down, all the way to the top. Secondly, and lastly on that subject, the universities that we are having, we must not convert our technical institutions into universities. Because, I mean, I'll give an example of Homa Bay, where our farmers training college, of course it had stopped running as a farmers training college, but it's currently the Tom Mboya University. We are proud to have Tom Mboya University as Homa Bay County, but we must also have the technical institutions. You know, once we started the parallel programs, many of our technical institutions changed into universities. So there's nowhere to go for technical learning. And this is what the economy, especially now that we're driving the Big 4 agenda, really, really requires.
I want to read some feedback that has come through on 22422. Hello, I'm Eric Musioka, watching from Gara. My question or plea goes to the members of parliament. I have studied diploma in electrical and electronics engineering from a private college in Kenya. I sat for City and Guild exam. ERC, the Energy Regulatory Commission, has denied me certificate to practice because I have done international exam. My question is, why should colleges be allowed to teach a syllabi that will never be recognized, not even allowed to continue for further studies? Imagine not a single university teaching degree in electrical with City and Guild syllabus. You have a response?
Yeah, I think that was a big problem about the courses that are not registered. I think the universities should hold their horses, wait for the course to be registered first before they start offering it. We've had that problem, and there was a bill trying to restore the technical courses in engineering. Okay. The Cecilia Ngetich bill, that is what it was trying to resolve, because we had so many students already in that situation. I hope that, because the bill passed in the last parliament, I hope the implementation of that law is going on. But I would ask the universities to make sure that all the processes of accreditation have been done before they admit students, because I mean it's a big problem. You've already paid for the fees, you've gone through the curriculum, and then the course is not registered. That should be a problem of the universities. But I'm personally also really a bit affected, and I say this as somebody who has a traditional degree, because law is a traditional course. I don't want us to be so stuck on those traditional courses: law, medicine, pharmacy, sociology, health. I mean, we have to move to new areas, just that we have to move with the systems and the accreditation processes that are required. Otherwise, a lot of the new courses I see, I think the economy needs them. Nutrition, you know, dietitians and all of those. I think it's just how the systems are as far as accreditation is concerned. But let's not be stuck to just traditional courses. We have to move to new courses as well.
All right, before we can quickly move to the next part that we want, we have a caller, Juma Chesila. You're calling in from Kahawa. Good morning. Thank you for choosing Daybreak, and thank you for choosing Citizen TV. What's your question or your opinion, rather, into the conversation?
Yes. Good morning.
Good morning. Go ahead.
Yes. My name is to the members of parliament. They are talking about the current graduates are not able to draft a simple letter, that able to draft a CV or something. Yes, but they're still graduates of the same universities. The current job market describes the graduates as maybe half-baked, or they try to paint this person as somebody who is unable to do the basics. Yet they are at that position of influencing policies to maybe govern these universities. So I think it's a question of, have they done enough to ensure that there are enough policies to govern the universities, and issues to do with the types of courses or the laws that govern establishment of particular courses in the universities. It's not enough to just complain about what the universities are offering and what the graduates are able to offer once they graduate from the university.
Right. Okay, so let me toss that to Sabina Chega, since she sat at the Committee on Education. Here's a very good point. We're here discussing, but are there policies? What has been set to make sure?
Kenya is one of the countries that has the best policies.
That's the thing. It's good on paper.
Yes, and the question is on implementation.
Exactly.
And we started cracking the whip even with the last parliament. And I think if you remember, there were some of these colleges that were highlighted even by the media and the courses that were offering. And so I think what what has come out now with the number of universities that are offering the degrees that are not accredited coming out, I think we must maybe have a law, and I am not sure whether it's not there, that before any university offer courses, they should actually like print them, advertise them, and the Commission of University Education must actually tell the people whether it's accredited or not accredited before offering them. Okay. Because the question, what is happening now, most, and especially with the majority of the private universities and the new universities that are coming up, when they form a university, when Bomet or decides we want to have a new university, and one of the universities that were funded in the last parliament was Bomet University. So the next thing is they sit down and decide these are the courses that we want to offer. But the big question, before you offer them, are they accredited? And I think there should be a process to be followed. Even before the university becomes now, to start offering the courses and the doors are opened. I think that is one of the processes that should be followed. But with the policies, we have beautiful policies on papers.
So implementation is key.
That is the problem.